My mom says I've always been singing. Since I was a little child, I used to sing all the songs that she sang for me before I was going to sleep. And I also like to act like a little drummer, to play with percussions and play with rhythm. So that kept on being my passion. And when I was 6 years old, she was thinking about which instrument I could practice. And then she started to send me to a piano teacher. So I went to music school to practice piano when I was 6. I was able to build up a basic imagination of music theory and of sound and tones. When I was 8, I realized that I really would enjoy to practice playing the drums. I didn't have the chance to take drum lessons. Also, I didn't have a drum kit in my house because it was so expensive. And I just somehow managed to teach it myself. Fortunately, I had a few good friends that I visited for a few times who had a little cave with a drum kit in it. So every time I would visit them, I would ask them, man, can I go play on your drums? Step by step, I started to build up a little basics for playing the drums, which turned out to be really important later for my production. Going on from 8, I started to get more access to music. You got your first iPod, you got your first iPhone or your first computer where you could listen and discover new music. And that also really inspired me for my later work. When I was 13, I started taking singing lessons. When I was 14, I started to get more into hip-hop. I didn't really have a good opinion about it. You hear all these judgments about the rappers, what they rap about how they rap about women, how they rap about money, how they rap about violence. But the more I got access to it, I started to enjoy it. I started to understand the perspective of these rappers. Until then, I was really passionate about writing. I always loved writing. I loved writing stories. I loved storytelling. One day when I was fed up with creating little stories that wouldn't really interest anyone, I started to try to create something new that would contain the two elements, music and storytelling. And then I just realized that I could combine these two in rap. And that's when I started to write my own raps. And fun fact is that I started to write the raps firstly in German, but sooner or later when I got into artists like J. Cole or Kendrick Lamar, I was so passionate about this type of music that I wanted to create it myself. So I changed from German to English. First, I didn't really get a good feedback when I wanted to rap in English because many friends came to me and told me, man, they cannot understand the word and stuff like that, and why don't you do it like the other locals? And I just kept going. I kept writing my tracks. I just showed them to really close friends whose opinion were important for me. And I just told myself, if my best friend would tell me that it wouldn't make sense that I would continue with rapping, I would leave it. But fortunate, every single one of them enjoyed it and encouraged me to keep going. At 15, I realized that I wanted to do my own beat production. Started to save money, and I started to always beg my mom for a little financial help so that I could buy my own music program, that I could do my own beats. And after a long time, for me it felt like a long time, I had enough money to buy my own beat program. To me, this thing was really useful. It was built like the classical MPC that we all know from greats like Andre 3000 or Kanye West. I kept making my experiences. I kept on trying out new genres. I always showed my beats to my friends and they all enjoyed it. I didn't have access to any recording studio yet, but I just kept on doing my songs. I always freestyled all the time for my friends. When I was 17, I had a few songs ready. I had much material, but I've picked a choice for a few songs that were put on 2 EPs. And I was lucky in the middle of 2015 to record these 2 EPs. It was a really good experience to finally put the first projects on SoundCloud and to share it with the people to get the good feedback, and this would encourage me to keep going. With 19 years, I was able to do my first shows. 19, that was the age when I was able to finish with school, do my degree, started to get this type of experiences, being in front of the crowd and starting to perform my own songs, express my art, my craft. With 20, I started to try out to do my music in French because I was always interested in languages, and I think that I don't have problems to learn a new language. So I always enjoyed French in school, and I just decided one day, after listening to artists like PNL or Hamza or Damso, to do it by myself. Did a few tracks, 2 videos are online on YouTube, and I got a really good feedback. There are many people who say they prefer my French stuff rather than my English stuff. But I just noticed that I prefer to express myself in English. With 20 years old, I also met Ioannis. He's a videographer, a photographer. So we linked up, started to do photo shoots together. But we soon realized that we both had bigger plans than that. And he also told me that he wanted to start to direct music videos. And he came up with the idea that we could do travel trips to shoot our videos in other places than Switzerland. So we met in 2018, and in 2019 we did our first trips. We went to Italy 2 times, 1 time to France to shoot our videos. We also did a video in Germany. We've been very productive since then. When I turned 21, I had my first few singles with Ioannis out on YouTube, on Spotify and all other platforms. 2019 was really the beginning of something big, which will happen sooner or later in the future, which you will be able to witness. To my private life, I was born and raised here in Basel by my mom with an elder sister. And as a kid, I was really shy, I was quiet, I was a little bit in my own world because back then I already had a few dreams. My teenage years, they've been very exciting, also difficult. First, I've experienced a lot of turbulent friendships. I've been friends with a lot of people, met a lot of different people, had a lot of fun. I also witnessed a lot of anger, a lot of temperament. During the teenage years, you have your first relationships, you fall in love for the first time, and then the relationships with the other person, they don't work out the way you want them to work out, and then you get a little bit sad, frustrated. But at the end, all these experiences, they were fundamental for my music, because now mostly they create the content of my songs. The older I got, I realized that music was a tool for me to really express pain when I needed to, and that I could turn it into something positive. And I think that's a great thing. I think there are also many people who can relate to the stories that I tell or to the emotions that I put in. That's one of the main reasons why I decided to really go for it, to really do everything I can to make music my main hustle, my main job, and to connect with many people. The plan for this year is the following. We will drop bigger projects and smaller ones. The bigger projects will contain a unique style of music that you've never heard before. Our goal is to reach different communities, to unify them, so that me and Ioannis can really grow with them into one big community. Connect with you guys so that we can push each other to reach our dreams, because we have the opinion that each one of you has a gift or a talent which they can really turn into something big. And I'm really looking forward to what's about to come, and I'm really positive.
And I don't have to say a single word.